Ken Warkington, thanks so very much. And hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sam McKee Memorial Broadcast Set. I'm Dave Little, and this is In the Sulky. My guest tonight is the 2024 Dan Patch Trainer of the Year. We welcome to the set Noel Daley. Noel, thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us.
No problem, Dave.
Big year for you last year. Certainly, it's not one a long time coming. You certainly have a big statistical resume, and last year must have been a great one to get that Trainer of the Year.
Yeah, it's not something you focus on, but yeah, it's nice to get it when it happened. You never know how your year's going to turn out, but we had a good year, so we'll take it.
So you told me right before we went on that you've been here for 36 years. You came via California, via Australia. How did that all go?
Yeah, I came over. I hopped in a plane and came with some horses, and I worked for Pete Foley in California there for 6 months, and then came over with a horse that Ross Grogan had sent to Brett and worked for Brett for 8 years.
So that's when Ross was king of California, right?
Ross was king of California.
Oh, yeah. So, kind of listen to him and do what he said. Is that the idea?
Yeah, no, that's right. I never worked for Ross, but I've known him ever since then.
So you actually started out as a groom.
Started out as a groom first for Pete and then as a groom for Brett.
So, but those days are long behind you now, aren't they?
Yeah. No, it's worked out pretty good.
Now you're the guy in charge. How many horses do you have in your care now?
Unfortunately, we have about 75, which is a lot. So, trying not to have as many racehorses. We're selling a few more this week. I've got 45 two-year-olds, which is crazy.
Wow.
We've never had that many. So, I like doing the young ones, and with the money the way it is and that, I don't really need racehorses unless they're decent ones.
So it makes a lot of sense that obviously the two-year-olds are a big challenge.
Yeah, they're fun. They're your chance of having a good one.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your season, 2024 Dan Patch Trainer of the Year. And let's start, when a trainer is the top three-year-old pacer and trotter of the year, it's a good bet he'll be Trainer of the Year. Now, one horse that has been retired to stud is Sig Sauer, who was the trotting sophomore of the year. Last year, he won half of his 10 starts, including the Breeders' Crown, and a pretty exciting finish here at the wire, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure we got there, but he was a fun horse. He was a challenging horse to have. He was a handful to be around, but he was a very professional racehorse. He overcome whatever he needed to overcome to win his races. So it was it was great to see him win that, and the Kentucky Futurity put the two of them together. That was great.
So a little birdie told me that when they hit the wire together, you and TCI, you weren't quite sure who won the race. Did you actually go to Ron Burke and say, "Did I win or did you win?"
Yeah, I actually did. We were sitting up in the paddock office, and I was yelling, and then I thought, "Oh, did I win it or not?" And I turned down and said, "Did I win it?" And he said, "Yeah, you won it." He knew.
So Sig Sauer's off to stud. What is your guess as to how popular he is? Obviously, his book is full and closed. What do you think his characteristics are that you're hoping that he'll pass along to his progeny?
He's got everything that you would want. We gave $200,000 for him, which was a lot for us as a baby. A magnificent horse, and he had a lot of attitude to him. He thought he was a good horse. I can remember saying to Wendy Ross, when she came out early in the 3-year-old season, when she was looking at him, she said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, if he's half as good as he thinks he is," I said, "I'm in good shape." And
Sig Sauer, the 3-year-old sophomore male trotter of the year from 2024. Let's move on to a great pacer by the name of Captain Albano. First thing I want to cover, Noel, we weren't supposed to have the pleasure of seeing him race this year. His stud career came to an abrupt end. Why so?
His numbers weren't good enough. To be fair to him, we raced him right through to the end there, and then we had to test breed him basically straight off the track. The numbers weren't good enough. We were hoping they would get better, but it was that late that we had to make a decision. You couldn't, he was going to fill up, and we couldn't make people wait, so we said, we'll bring him back another year and try him again later in the year. Try him again this year, see if we can breed him.
Now, not just his best performance of the year, but one of the best performances in all of harness racing last year came in the Progress at Dover Downs on November the 27th. Captain Albano still was nowhere near the lead in a quarter in 25-1, and here we see at the end of the mile, he's still fresh as a daisy. Talk about it.
Yeah, no, he ended up the year great, the horse. I actually said it was a little prophetic in the winner's circle. I had one of my owners with me. I said, I'm actually a little sad to see him finish up. And as it turned out, we might have put the mocker on him because he ended up coming back. But he's Sonia, my caretaker there, actually looked after him and Sig Sauer, two completely different animals. He's sort of a fun-loving horse, never a problem. Siggy was a challenge all the time, but no, he's fun to have. He's fun to be around. He's a really good-natured horse.
Now, Albano, his second qualifier was this morning. He finished third. How is he coming along? Because the division he's going to have to face this year is awfully tough.
Yeah, he really did well in his break. He looks magnificent. He's probably too big. So we'll come back again next week. And Toddy said, I think he's just playing around because he knows he's not ready. So we'll have to, put the screws to him a little next week. We got an invite to the race at Northfield the following week. But I wouldn't put him in that first up unless he can show he's ready to go, because all those horses that are going to race here on Sunday at Chester, a bunch of them will probably be out there and ready to go.
All right, so great to see Captain Albano back on the track in 2025. Now, another horse of Noel's, who I have nicknamed the Beast, is a horse by the name of Smooth Dream, who's going to be the favorite tonight in the 7th race. $225,000, 3-year-old Colton Gelding, New Jersey Sire Stakes final on the pace. You haven't even had this horse that long. I'm sure he's blown you away too, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's, you know as much about him as I do. I got him probably 3 or 4 weeks before he was ready to qualify. He's been nothing but great, the horse. They had a good opinion of him at 2. He only had a couple of starts because he had a chip in his hind ankle, so they didn't know enough. He's probably the only mistake looks like they've made so far is maybe understaking him. So, it's his to win or lose tonight. Obviously, he's the one. If he has a decent night, which he should, he's obviously the one to beat in there.
Our friend Brett Pelling, who's won 5 Meadowlands Paces, he's often said that the Meadowlands Pace is a sire maker, but Smooth Dream is a gelding. Is there any chance that his connections might supplement him? I know for a gelding, that's an awfully tough ask.
Yeah, no, well, we'll have to see if he gets the money tonight. That decision's up to them. Obviously, it's a big ask. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with all the good ones in the North American. Obviously, we're not in that, so we'll see what the competition looks like at the time, I guess.
If you don't take that route, how many options do you have with a horse like Smooth Dream, who, if I had my druthers, I'd probably have him 4th or 5th in my road to the Meadowlands Pace?
He basically only has the New Jersey races, and then we have looked through to see what. There are some races that make sense to supplement to. As I say, being a gelding, that's your challenge there, and they might not want to give back all their money. I'm not sure, So we'll take him week to week. I don't do a lot with him at home. He was ready to go. What you see here, I'm watching to see the same thing. I don't really, we don't really see that at home with him. He's nice to do with whatever we do with him, but we've never asked him for a lot at home.
Smooth Dream, the favorite in tonight's New Jersey Sire Stakes final for 3-year-old Colton Gelding's on the pace. Want to talk about one more horse of yours, a horse who is a Hamiltonian competitor on a jet plane, who was 5th this morning in his qualifier. On paper, it looks like he's off to a slow beginning. Is he where you want him to be?
No, he was disappointing this morning, so, we'll just have to... I started a little later with him. Like last year, I didn't start Sig Sauer in the Sire Stakes at all. I was aiming him for the Hambo. This horse he liked. He trained down good and everything, but he was a little disappointing this morning. Maybe, he'll have to come back again next week and show me a little more.
Let's take a look at on a jet plane racing. Last year he had a nice year at 2, a good 4th in the Mohawk Million, and here he is looking awfully good coming from off the pace.
Yeah, no, he showed on a couple of occasions there that he was... he was right there with them, but he was a little patchy at the end. He didn't finish the year great. He's actually a horse that is night and day better without shoes. I did that a couple of times last year. My plan, all being good, was to have the Hambo as being the first time I took him off this year. But he's got to show he can get there first,
You continue to tell me last year, Noel, every time that I talk to you, that you don't like to start him too soon. You want him fresh at the end of the year. Certainly Captain Albano proved that to us at the end of his 3-year-old campaign. So if on a jet plane is behind the 8 ball right now, how do you get him ready in the next 10 weeks for the Hamiltonian?
You know what? There's obviously the Hambo's your first serious race. Everything everything you do is surrounded by that race, and from then on, I pretty much would throw them to the wolves and put him in everything that comes along. But yeah, obviously you want to have him good for that. If he's not ready at that time, well, then he can't be in it, and not. There's some nice colts out there this year, so got to be realistic. He's got to show that he fits.
So tell me something, Noel, before I let you go. The Sire Stakes program in New Jersey, it certainly seems to be on an upswing. Cattle Wash basically is dotting the program in tonight's Sire Stakes final for colts and geldings, I'm sure for the fillies as well. Is this going to be a keeper kind of sire?
Yeah, you know what, you're gonna have to see there now, and I think Legendary Hanover has actually entered the state now too. So in a couple of years we'll see them. He was a very good racehorse. I mean that his win here in the Meadowlands Space was as good as I think he was lame towards the end of it. He put in a few poor performances, but he's a very good horse. And he's got the breeding to be a good one too. So it'll be the first time I think we've had more than one commercial sire to stand together here in Jersey, so we'll see how that works out.
Noel Daley, thanks so much for spending a couple of minutes with us in the Sulky. Continued success. Congratulations on your 2024 Dan Patch Trainer of the Year Award and on being the 7th all-time leading money-earning trainer in the history of the sport. You didn't even know that when we got on.
No, I'm not big on statistics, so I'll take your word for it.
In 60 seconds, Jessica Houghton's going to jump in Noel's chair, and we're going to get to tonight's featured action and talk about this morning's qualifiers. Time for Noel to get to work one more time. Noel, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Dave.
60-second timeout, and we'll be right back after this.